Hello, my Math 3 scholars. In this video, we're going to learn today how to divide polynomials. Now, in order to divide polynomials, we have to go back and do something that you did when you first learned how to divide using long division. So I'm going to do an example of something you did a while back, probably in elementary school, maybe 4th or 5th grade, when you were dividing things like 506 divided by 50. Okay, when you did those, you wrote down that 50, and then you wrote down your division bar and put the 506 under it. And then you asked yourself, okay, will 50 go into 5? No, it won't. So then you said, okay, will 50 go into 50? Yes, it will. It'll go one time. And then you did 1 times 50, which is 50, and you wrote that right there. And then you drew a line and subtracted. 50 minus 50, of course, that's 0. It wasn't always 0, but in this case, it is 0. And then you pulled down that next number, which is the 6. And you said, okay, will 50 go into 6? Well, it doesn't, so we would say it goes 0 times. So then 0 times 50 was 0, and then you subtracted, and of course, 6 minus 0 is 6. So you got 10 with a remainder of 6. We're going to use this same process where you come up with how you can multiply to get this, then you multiply it and write it down, and then you subtract and pull down the next thing. We're going to do that method, but we're going to do it using polynomials. So let's start with this polynomial. So remember up here, the 50, the second thing written was what I put on the outside. So the second thing written, and it's usually going to be a binomial, is what you're going to write on the outside. It could be a monomial, and it could be something bigger than a binomial, but most of the time it'll be a binomial. So we're going to do 2x plus 1 into, and underneath this, we put what was written first up here. We put the 506 underneath our division bar. So underneath here, I'm going to put 6x squared plus 7x plus 2. Now, here's the kind of the difference. You're kind of going to ignore this plus 1 to start with. So I am going to actually take a piece of paper and just kind of put over it here. Let me make it small enough. So I'm going to kind of ignore that for a minute, okay? And let's just look at this 2x. Okay, you're going to ask yourself, what do I multiply 2x by to get 6x squared? Well, that would be a plus 3x. So I'm going to put 3x right there. Okay, now I'm going to take this off because now I need to use that. So 3x times 2x, that's 6x squared. And 3x times 1 is a positive 3x. Okay, now we're going to do exactly what we did in this example up here. We're going to draw a line and subtract. So draw your line and subtract. But I'm going to encourage you to put parentheses around that, because you need to make sure that you put that subtraction with everything in here. So 6 minus 6, that's 0. And that's what you want to happen each time with that first part. You want it to always cancel out. And then 7 minus 3 is going to give you a 4x. And then you're going to pull down that plus 2. Okay, now I'm going to cover up that plus 1 again for right now, because I'm going to ask myself, 2x, what do I multiply it by to get this 4x right here? Well, I multiply it by 2. So I come up here and I write plus 2. Okay, now I'm going to take this off again because I got to use it. So now I'm going to take this plus 2 and multiply it by each of these over here. So 2 times 2x is 4x, and 2 times 1 is 2. Okay, then we're going to subtract, and again, I'm going to encourage you to put parentheses around that. Okay, 4x minus 4x, you want that to go away. You want that to be 0. And then 2 minus 2, that also goes away. So I have, in this case, a remainder of 0. So my answer, if I put an answer here, is going to be this thing that I came up with right here. It's going to be 3x plus 2. What that means is if I take 3x plus 2 and I multiply it by 2x plus 1, I'm going to get this thing right here back. Okay? Let's look at another example. So remember, the second thing that's listed, the last thing, is always what goes outside of your division bar. Then we're going to divide, and we put what the first thing is underneath. 4x squared plus 23x minus 16. Now, you always want to make sure that you have standard form here. Squared for that exponent, a 1 on that exponent, and then your constant. If you're missing a piece, like let's say I didn't have an x, then I would have to put a 0x there. And we'll run into that here in a minute in another problem. So let's look and see. Again, I'm going to cover up that plus 5 and just consider my x here. So what do I multiply x by to get 4x squared? Well, that would be 4x. Okay, then I'm going to remove this because now I need to use it to multiply. 4x times x is 4x squared. 4x times 5 is a positive 20x. We draw our line, subtract, and put parentheses around it. 4x squared minus 4x squared, that's 0, so that goes away. 23 minus 20 is going to be a 3x. And then you're going to pull down that negative 16. You're going to pull that down. Remember to keep your sign with it. Okay, I'm going to cover up that plus 5 again. Okay, what do we multiply x by to get 3x? Well, that's a positive 3. So I'm going to put plus 3 up there. Now I'm looking at this 3. 3 times x is 3x. And 3 times 5 is a 15. Okay, we draw our line, we subtract, put parentheses around that. 3x minus 3x, that's 0. Negative 16 minus 15 is going to be a negative 31. Now there's nothing else for me to pull down over here, so I have a remainder this time. This time, this is your remainder. So this is how you write your answer when you have a remainder, okay? You're going to write this up here, 4x plus 3, and then you're going to put a plus sign, and this part right here is going to be your numerator. So I'm going to write negative 31 over whatever you have over here that you're dividing by is going to be your denominator, x plus 5. And this here would be your final answer. Okay, let me work another one. Okay, this time we have this problem. So remember, our last piece goes on the outside, so that's x minus 7. And then under here, we're going to put this. Now, here's where we have to be careful. Notice we have x cubed, and then it goes to x. So it's leaving out an x squared. We have to account for that. So we have to put x cubed plus 0x squared, because there is not an x squared. Then minus 57x plus 56. Okay? X times what? Let me cover that minus 7 up again. So we're ignoring the minus 7 right now. X times what is x cubed? Well, that is x squared. Okay, take that away. X squared times x is x cubed. X squared times negative 7 is a negative 7x squared. Draw your line, subtract, and put parentheses around. X cubed minus x cubed, that goes away, that's 0. 0 minus a negative, that's plus. So 0 plus 7 is going to be 7x squared. And then I'm going to pull down that next piece, minus 57x. Okay, I'm going to cover up that 7. X times what is 7x squared? Well, that would be a plus 7x. Okay, now I need to use that. 7x times x is 7x squared. And 7x times a negative 7 is a negative 49x. Draw your line, subtract, and put parentheses around. Okay, 7 minus 7, that's 0. Negative 57 minus a negative makes a plus. So plus 49. Negative 57 plus 49 is a negative 8x. And then we're going to pull down that plus 56. Okay, I'm going to cover up this minus 7. X times what is negative 8x? Well, that would be a minus 8. Okay. Negative 8 times x is negative 8x. And negative 8 times negative 7 is a positive 56. Draw your line, subtract, and put your parentheses. Okay, negative 8 minus a negative makes plus 8, so that's going to be a 0. And then 56 minus 56, that's also 0. So we get a remainder of 0 this time. So that means that our answer here is what we came up with right here. X squared plus 7x minus 8. And this would be our answer. Okay, I would like for you to pause the video and try to do example D, and then come back and I will work it. Okay, so you should have written the x plus 2 here, and then underneath here, all of this. X cubed minus 14x squared plus 51x minus 54. And you have all of the exponents, 3, 2, 1, and your constant. All right, I'm going to cover up that plus 2. X times what is x cubed? That would be x squared. Then we multiply. X squared times x is x cubed. X squared times 2 is positive 2x squared. Draw your line, subtract, parentheses. X cubed minus x cubed, that's nothing. Negative 14 minus 2 is going to be a negative 16x squared. And then we're going to pull down that plus 51x. Okay, we're going to cover up that plus 2 again. X times what is negative 16x squared? That would be a negative 16x. Okay, negative 16x times x is negative 16x squared. Negative 16x times positive 2 is negative 32x. Draw your line, subtract, and parentheses. Negative 16 minus a negative makes plus 16, so that's 0. That goes away. And then 51 minus a negative, that's going to be plus. So 51 plus 32 is going to be 83x. And then you're going to pull down your minus 54. You're going to pull that down. Okay, after you pull that down, you've got to say, okay, what can I multiply x by? And if you need to, cover up that plus 2 again. What can I multiply x by to get 83x? What do I multiply x by to get that? So that would be 83. So this is going to be plus 83. Then we're going to multiply. 83 times x is 83x. And 83 times 2, if you put that in your calculator, you're going to get a positive 166. Draw your line, subtract, and put your parentheses. 83 minus 83, that's 0. And negative 54 minus a 166, that's going to be negative 220. Okay, so I have a remainder this time. So my answer is going to be, okay, and I'm going to draw a line down through here so you all can see the answer here. It's going to be x squared minus 16x plus 83 plus, okay, I'm going to put the remainder on top, negative 220 over what you're dividing by, x plus 2. And this right here would be your answer. Okay, guys, I know that dividing polynomials is long and time-consuming and hard. So if you have questions, let me know.